but not a human being. The concept addressed ethics and justice, language, trans-species communications, social sciences, and intellectual aspirations. So I'm gonna get more into this. Posthumanism, okay, and this is very important here. Okay, and there's a few terms. Anti-humanism is any theory that is critical or traditional humanism or traditional ideas about humanity and the human condition. Okay, so anti-humanism means that your people are totally against humanity. You know, they feel like the problems on the earth is the people, and what we should do is be having less babies. We shouldn't be having, you know, because as we have more people, they're just going to kill more alligators and snakes and whatever, you know. Okay, you have cultural posthumanism, a branch of cultural theory. These are actually things that's taught in school. Like these are titles of things that they teach in school right now. Cultural theory critical of foundational assumptions of humanism and its legacy. It examines the question of historical notions of human and human nature, often challenging typical notions of human subjectivity and embodiment, strives beyond the archaic concepts of human nature to develop one which constantly adapts to contemporary techno-science knowledge. So that's this cultural post-humanism being taught in colleges today. Then you have philosophical post-humanism, philosophical direction, which draws a cultural which draws on cultural posthumanism. The philosophical strand examines the ethical implication and expanding the circle of moral concern and extended subjectives beyond the human species. Okay, so they're teaching this. You have cultural posthumanism, philosophical posthumanism. They teach the post-human condition, the deconstruction of the human condition, and critical theorists. Okay, then they have transhumanism. I just went over before. You have a part of this is called AI takeover. Okay, a variant of transhumanism in which humans will not be enhanced, but rather eventually replaced by artificial intelligence. Some philosophers, including Nick Land, promote the views that humans should embrace the concept and accept their eventual demise. This is related to the cosmos, which supports the building of strong artificial intelligence, even until the end of humanity as we view it. Okay? And then you have voluntary human extinction, voluntary human extinction, which is post-human future that takes the future without humans. Voluntary human extinction movement, it's a whole movement, okay, is a environmental movement that calls for people to abstain from reproduction to cause gradual and voluntary extinction of mankind. The movement is called VHEMT. Supports human extinction primarily because it's a group view would prevent environmental degradation. The group states to decrease human population would prevent significant amount of human caused suffering. Okay, all this is part of this green agenda. Okay, this is all where this is coming from. Post-humanization comprises of the process by which society comes to include members other than the natural biological human beings who, in one way or another, contribute to the structures, dynamic, and meaning of society. Post-humanization is one of the key phenomena studied in academic discipline and methodologies to identify themselves as post-humanists include critical, cultural, and philosophical post-humanism. Its process is divided in the form of non-technical and technical post-humanism. So they're putting a whole lot of thought behind this concept of post-humanism. And what I mean by post-humanism is, like I said before earlier, when you go for a job now, you have to generally check a box. What are you? Are you a black person? And you don't have to check this box. I mean, I think it is, or I choose not to answer this question, but it generally says, are you black, white, Hispanic, non-white Hispanic? They keep adding to it. Indian, Native American, or Asian. You know, it generally has those criteria. In the future, and these are actual things, So we already said a cyborg is a human being who contains a mechanical or electrical technology devices and abilities are greater than the abilities of a normal human being. So if I'm a employer, that's a plus for you. Hey, you got any enhancements? You're a cyborg? What can you do? What you got? A bionic leg? You got a stronger arm? You got good vision? A metahuman. A metahuman is an organism that is born human. It has altered its DNA sequence of genome chromosome using genetic engineering techniques. So the CRISPR, now with this technology enhancing, and here I am born a human, but I have, I have a bad heart or I just want to be enhanced, so, hey, listen, I want you to enhance me. I want you to change the color of this. I want you to make my hair longer, give me the DNA of this thing, like to enhance yourself. Now you're no longer a human, but you started human, but you added something that mutated you. That's called a metahuman. Okay? A mutant is an organism or a new genetic character arising resulting from instance of mutation, in which generally the alteration of DNA sequence of the genome chromosome of an organism. So a mutant, the difference is they're born that way. So you take a baby, and he's totally a natural baby in the stomach of the mother, and you alter their DNA before they are born. They're born a mutant, so that's a mutant. Okay, a hybrid. A hybrid is the offspring resulting from a combination of qualities of two organisms of different breed, variety species, or general through sexual reproduction. Hybrids are not always intermediates between their parents, but can show hybrid vigor, sometimes growing larger, taller than either parent. The concept of hybrid is interbred differently in animal plant breeding, and the interest in human hybriding is possible. So hybrid is, I'm a human, and then I meet this girl who, she's a mutant. She was born with some type of enhanced DNA, and we have a baby. Now that baby's a hybrid. He's half mutant, half human, but born that way. So that's a hybrid. Okay, and then you have a clone human. Okay, is a creation of a genetically identical copy of another human. Okay, therapeutic cloning would involve cloning cells or tissue from a human, and reproductive cloning would involve making an entire clone human instead of just of the specific cells or tissue. And that's the one we're talking about. So if I decide one day, and the science allows this, and I say, you know what, I want to make me another Thomas Smith. Exactly. So I go in, they take my DNA and they go in, make a baby, put my sperm in a cup or something, and they alter the DNA and put it inside of a female, and that baby comes out a clone of Thomas Smith. That's a cloned human. You know what I'm saying? And you have transgenic. A transgenic is a person with genes that have been transferred naturally by any number of genetic engineered techniques from one organism or more organisms onto them. Transgene describes a segment of DNA containing a gene sequence that has been isolated from one organism and is introduced into a different organism. So a transgenic person would be, let's just say, they realize that in alligators, they don't get cold. So they could take some alligator DNA and put it inside of this human so he doesn't get cold because he lives in Alaska or something. You know what I'm saying? Just the theoretical way. When they put some plant-based matter into that DNA, once they implement something from a whole nother thing in the human realm of a species, once they implement cat DNA or dog DNA or some other DNA from another species of animal than human, then you're a transgenic, and they could introduce more than one. So you could get cat-like balance and, dog-like barking ability and, all types of things. But either way, this is the future where they're headed with the science. And the science called CRISPR allows for all these things right now that I just mentioned to actually exist right now. And especially since they could take a baby, and this just came out a couple weeks ago, as I mentioned it on the show, a fetus inside of the stomach of a mother, okay, be able to inject in there, get the cell from that child that's not born yet, just the fetus, okay, take that cell and then put the perfect DNA of everything, like fix all the inconsistencies. So if he has the ability to develop X amount of cancer because this is his genetic line, take that out. Then you can also put immunities in there. You'll be immune to AIDS, right? Because that's what the doctor did in China, right? He made the babies with they can't get AIDS. You're immune to all these other diseases and things. Now you take that cell, put it back inside that fetus, and then cut out all the bad cells, leaving that great cell. That's a mutant right there. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a human being born. And we've had quite a few of these people walking around. They're just like us. You know what I'm saying? But you have people born from a vitro. You get what I'm saying? Those, can you say that that's actually a human being? It wasn't produced through sex. That's one of the key factors to being a human being. But that's pretty much what I was going to say about this post-humanist world. It's not so much a post-humanist meaning a bomb's going to go off and there's not going to be no more humans. No, there's going to be people walking around with souls and consciousness, but they won't be able to come out of a belly button of a woman due to penile and vaginal sex and the natural occurrences that happen in humanity. That won't be how they're born. Yes, ma'am.
That's